Good evening and welcome, says Buile, for another edition of the Monday Night Football Show, SOWETO TV. Kamalamu Kamzambata, and it's match day 14 that goes under the microscope as we reflect on the two derbies that happened at the weekend, one here on the Highveld and one eThekwini, as we also focus on the result that saw Mamelodi Sundowns start growing that gap at the top of the table as they, of course, pay tribute to MADISHA with that victory. I'm not alone. I have a panel made up of three gentlemen tonight. Calvin Sosivo to my immediate left. We have Greg Tapia joining us and Temba Shabalala. Gents, thank you so much for coming through this evening. Let's look at the derby. First and foremost, good victory for Pirates. But, you know, I guess now it's becoming a bit more evident. The coach had spoken about it, Gavin Hunt, the lack of fans in the stadium. But you see that first half that Kaizer Chiefs had, you know, the chances they had. Kelvin, in your mind, if there was a crowd there, would they have still not scored them, or would they have scored them? What's the dynamic of having the 90,000 plus people there?
I think the 90,000 crowd actually gives a good significance into the atmosphere of the game. The game didn't lack any intensity. I like the speed, the tempo. It was well controlled. I think with Chiefs would have actually scored those chances that they got in the first half, it would have actually turned the game to its head. But I think Pirates played well for them. It's only that they didn't fully exert to the match.
Okay, Greg, I mean, looking at that one, would have Chiefs benefited from having some people in the stadium?
For me, I mean, it's both sides. You know, Pirates is playing at home, and I think they should benefit too if the fans can help any of the team. You know, but you know, building to that game, we're all looking forward to that 30th of January, you know, for the big game. You know, building up towards the game, the two teams they play, they have a draw. You know, they play a draw, so you know that derby is going to be exciting. But I mean, Chiefs have 20 shots at goals, 5 on target. You know, I mean they could have. I don't know how they lost that game. You know, and Pirates only have 3 shots on target, 2 goals. You know, at the end of the day, if you see the chances Kaizer Chiefs missed, that was a clear, but credit must go to Ofori too. He did very well in that game, you know. And Pirates surprised Chiefs with Lodge playing as a shadow striker, you know. No one expected that, you know. And for that team again against for Kaizer Chiefs, I feel like that penalty, if they scored that penalty, it could have been on that because there's a lot of time to come back.
For sure.
Then scoring towards the end of the game, you know, there was no time. And you know, Pirates, they can defend very well, which we spoke about last 2 weeks, you know, with Jelly and Kashwayu there, you know, so they did very well. But at the end of the day, it was a good game, you know, to watch.
Let's talk about that penalty because, you know, we're seeing things changing around here. Cardozo goes back into defense. Cardozo loses penalty kicking duty. And then Cardozo's the one who scores the consolation goal. Should you have just left things the way they were with Cardozo being the guy who takes the penalties, being the guy in the heart of midfield now, just in front of that back four? These changes seem to have worked against the side that had they kind of stuck with them and gone with what has been working, they might have had a different result.
It was never broken. Why fix it?
Yeah.
I think Nukovic, yes, he has realized that he's one of the strongest players in terms of mentally and physically and otherwise. No defender relaxes with him there. But when it comes to the penalty situation, I was watching Ofori. I think he studied what happens when Kaizer Chiefs players take penalties. The way he saved that penalty, that strong hand. I mean, you are a goalkeeper yourself. I mean, the body went that way, but the hand got stuck up. That penalty, I think people are blaming Ngezana. I'm not a friend of Ngezana.
Right.
But I think that ball should not have even been saved.
Yeah.
In a tense situation like that, score it the first time. Don't wait for the chance to say, is a rebounder and then I'll catch up or I'll collect the pieces.
Right.
There's no time for that. It's a derby. Make sure that you give it to a guy who can actually go out and give it his best shot. That is Cardozo for Kaizer Chiefs. He has scored in the past 4 derbies and he's been scoring those penalties.
I mean, Calvin, probably the wrong person you wanted to fall to in that situation, for Ngezana to be the man to latch on to the crumbs. You know, you almost think to yourself, Cardozo takes that, misses, and that happens, and Nukovic is the one to score that kind of goal. But, you know, because the pieces of the puzzle have been changed, you end up in a situation where you have a defender being the one left to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I think Ngezana found himself in a most unfortunate position. I think he panicked there. A little bit of experience could have worked in his way. Looking at it, the technique that was applied on actually finishing the ball, it was quite wrong because he opened his foot more wider. Could have went across or tried to tighten his foot, it would actually went in, because him, you could see that he was just going there just to finish. But if it was a natural striker, you could have seen a goal. Like Tema has mentioned, I think it was left for a striker. The striker was supposed to finish that first time.
For sure, for sure. I mean, that's a prime example there of opportunities that went plenty for Kaizer Chiefs. And I guess you can look back and say we played well, but putting it into the bigger picture, Greg, you know, this was one where they could have gotten closer to Orlando Pirates. And we've spoken about the trend. They were winning, 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 draw, and now a loss. What does that represent? Is that development?
For me, you know, with Kaizer Chiefs, you know, with every scenario around the team and with the band, you know, they can go away with excuse. But I mean, with this maturity of this game, you know, the derby, sometimes, you know, the form go out from the window. You want to please the fans. The fans are at home. They want to see a good game. You cannot beat Kaizer Chiefs for 3 games, you know, in the derby. I mean, that's unacceptable. But at the end of the day, we have to accept the situation, because if you ask Gavin, he will tell you that this is what I have and I need to deal with it, you know. Pirates can change and can do whatever they want to do with the players they have. They have injuries too before the game, but at the end of the day, you can see what Kaizer Chiefs have. He tried to change the midfield. You see what he tried to do. He tried to put some young players there, more speed, you know, more movement. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. I just feel like, but for them, you must give credit to them, because the chances they created, if they can take, in the first half alone, it could have been three goals up for Kaizer Chiefs. But if you don't score, you don't win games.
There we go. I mean, Lodge came through on this one for Orlando Pirates, comes through with a man-of-the-match performance. He says in the post-match, we don't have strikers. This is why I have to be the one scoring.
Yeah, I mean, look, false 9, I think he did it quite well. But then again, you use the mind as a Kaizer Chiefs coach. You sit there and say, okay, fine, my defense is low. You can look at Akpe, you can look at, sorry, not Akpe, you can look at Cardoso himself, you can look at Ngezana on the right, he's playing at the wrong place, number 1. You know, all of those, you look at, they don't have Rama, the experience where it comes out for him. But if you can look at how Lodge plays, he says, I'm going to use the speed effect. Now, the Kaizer Chiefs players, defense, they were playing a high line. You can't play high line against a quick team.
Sure.
If they turn over the ball, you're facing your own post. That's why Orlando Pirates always scores Kaizer Chiefs with their defenders running towards the goalpost. Where was Cardoso when the goal was scored? He was chasing the ball because Lodge was actually on the wide, and then he just squeezed it in. So I should always tell you that when you're playing against Pirates, especially in a derby, even an injured player, that injury goes away for a few moments and say, I would love to play the derby. Coach, I'm fit.
Right.
So in this case, I think we had a good game. It was a beautiful match. But Kaizer Chiefs, God knows for them, they should have won this game in the first 20 minutes. They should have wrapped it up.
No, for sure. Well, let's look at other opportunities that maybe fell for the side of Orlando Pirates as far as the penalty incident was concerned that wasn't given. Maybe you guys at home have a different perspective on this one, gents here in the studio. I mean, this one seemed pretty straightforward. You know, you see here Blom literally pulling him down and then the ref saying no penalty.
For me, I think Mr. Buddy, you know, the ref on the day, I think going home and watch the game again, I think we know that he made a big mistake. This was a clear penalty. If you see the angle where they pull it, you can see, you know, his hand is there, his hands wrap all over his body there. There's no way this is not a penalty. This is a clear penalty. I just think he just make a mistake there. And if Kaizer Chiefs goes on and win this game, that situation there, that incident could have been another different thing to talk about.
I think the side of me was just thinking about that comes to say, what's the conversation between Mr. Buddy as well as Jelly Chabani? You know, why is Jelly at home and why is Buddy still here? Because if you can look at that, it's a blatant penalty.
Sure.
But referees, of course, they're human.
Yes.
I always hear that line. Probably he thought, I've already given one the side. It would look like I'm balancing and let me not give it. You know, and then the players as well. You've done this, guys, where they've charged at the referee, ended up giving out 3 yellow cards. So it was more like,
stay away.
Yeah, stay away from me, or else I'm pulling the red one.
Right.
And it didn't end well. Again, that's why we say I'm gonna always talk about this. Do we have mentally fit referees?
There we go. So I'm wondering, thinking about this game here. Coach Gavin Hunt even said for Ngobo that wasn't probably the right game for him. And you also had, you know, Chobeni, you know, looking at maybe starting in this game and didn't. One coach favored a bit more youth than the other. What did you think of their contributions, the youngsters?
I think Kevin on this one, he got it wrong. Ngobo was always going to be overpowered by the experience of Mutwari, Makaringe, and Monare. So moving him to the side to an unnatural position for him, even though he's a left footer, but he lacks speed, he lacks physical presence. So for me, I wouldn't have played him on that game. I know he's been doing well, but I think this is a game maybe I would have actually gone with more experience because the game required one.
Right.
It goes back again to a point where do our coaches make use of the technology that we have? No, they don't. Because if you use the technology that you have, you would have actually understood that this is how Pirates play, this is their strong point, because Pirates will press you from the middle. And then once they press you from the middle, they are quick up front. So now you play a player that, for me, if I'm not mistaken, it's his first derby playing. So now you're playing against seasoned campaigners, people that have been there, that have done it. You're putting a youngster in the middle of the park to be against those players, but you're moving now to the side. The change that he made is with Mashiane. It was actually the first move he could have actually went for because this is where they profited from a penalty. You could see that Mashiane was more engaging, he was more confrontational in his one-on-one. That's why they were rewarded with a penalty. So I would have went with that decision rather than to play up.
Okay, Greg?
I mean, he's right, what he's saying, but, some derbies, you require some players, mentally, strong. For me, personally, I think Kasande could have started that game, because Kadosi went back, so he need to come be a natural fit there just to protect the back four, if it's sometimes back three, But at the end of the day, after a game like this and you see the chances they created, you can easily say again that he makes the right decision because if those goals went in, it could have been another story. I know Gavin when his team is leading, he brings the defensive midfielders to come and protect. So it's two ways you can look at it. Pirates 3 shots on target, 2 at goal, and that was the goal. So at the end of the day, Chiefs they did play well. They did play well with the youngster. All of them they did play well. But if you don't win the game, no one talk about. The most important thing is the result at the end of the day.
Okay, 8 points off the top of the table, Orlando Pirates. Good performance at the weekend, a big game. But as far as what they can hope for this season, I mean, that's a big gap to kind of claw up. At the same time, you have a very dominant Sundowns team in number 1. What's the best Amapagani I can hope for this season?
Kamsa, you know what? It's very important to be realistic when you watch football.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no stable team in the league that says they can give you 100% bet that they are going to win their next 5 games in a trot. And if you can look at Pirates, they're not stable themselves. They play blow hot and cold.
Sure.
Today, the players will give you 100%. Tomorrow, they'll lose to Leopards by 2 goals and not show up actually on the match. So I think Pirates right now, their investment should be maybe in the banking sector where they can go and say, you know what, yes, we'll still be in the league, but let's go to the Nedbank Cup and see that we go for it. At least we've got two trophies in one season, which is good for their standard. But of course, the biggest one being the league. They can scramble for points here and there, but let them focus on one thing. Because Sundowns, there's no match for Sundowns.
No, for me, Pirates, the next big game for them is against Golden Arrows. If they win that game, they go 28 points, which is very important. But, Swallows have game in hand and SuperSport have game. But they need to win that game for them to be in par. They're at least five points below Sundowns. Nothing can happen. Sundowns, they're going to Africa in terms of playing the Champions League now. There's going to be a lot of things happen. There's the COVID and there's injuries we saw in Sundowns camp. So Pirates, you just need to be consistent. Just be there. You never know what's going to happen.
I think with the same being said, I will just echo what Tima just alluded to. Pirates trying to focus on the trophies because, I mean, if you're playing trophies, there's lesser matches than actually being on the league. You can snap this one quickly and get it in a bag. Then you can build your confidence moving from there.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. Pirates, Itimama Cup for the season, as according to my panel. Let's see, there's a Nedbank Cup still to go. Of course, later in the week that begins, but Pirates have some catch-up games in midweek. We'll give you a rundown of what to expect in and around the league after we take a short little break. Welcome back. It is MNF on SOWETO TV. Put a hashtag in front of that and do join the conversation with Twitter as we now focus on the derby that happened between Mandla Ngigazi's side, Golden Arrows, against Ernst Middendorf's Maritzburg United. And even though it was Maritzburg United who made the better start to the game, Golden Arrows, they were able to claw their way back into this one. And I guess, you know, Greg, looking at a game like this where it's a derby, it's important to assert yourself on this one. Did you get a sense that Maritzburg United took all the chances, or was it another one where chances were wasted and you just found an Arrows side who were more efficient in the end?
I just, you know, see an Arrows side with experienced players, you know how to manage the game. Although they went a goal down in the first half, they came back second half very strong. And for them, you know, I think this game was very important. You know, them going to Cape Town, losing against Cape Town City, they know this next game is going to be very important for them to be among the big boys here. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, you want Maritzburg to do well, but, you know, after the game against Kaizer Chiefs, they won 2-0. They haven't won any other game again. They have been conceding goals, and that's why they're signing a lot of keepers. I don't know how many keepers they're going to sign before the season ends. But I just feel like, you know, Golden Arrows were too good on the day, you know, and you know, they took their chances very well, and that's why they won the game. It's a big derby, you know. That's derby in KZN, and I know a lot of players talk about this derby. You know, you get your respect in this derby. So I just feel like, you know, Golden Arrows at the end of the day coming to this game, although they lost against Cape Town City, as I said earlier, but they're in good form, you know, to win this game.
Timani, looking at this one though, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you have at the end a good result for Golden Arrows. That's the fact there. But for Ernst, 3 losses now on the trot. He's the guy who supposedly understands Maritzburg United, the guy who's supposed to get the best out of them. They've just sold their best defender now to Mamelodi Sundowns. Don't think there'll be enough time to reinvest. Where does that put him?
I think Maritzburg players must know that you're not only playing when you're playing against Orlando Pirates, Sundowns, and Kaizer Chiefs.
Right.
I think their biggest celebration is when they beat Kaizer Chiefs. Julius Musiamedi must show that he's a senior player who plays throughout the 30 matches, excluding the cup games, because he only shines against Kaizer Chiefs, and that's what we have dubbed him to be, the player that knows how to destroy Kaizer Chiefs. So league unfortunately doesn't end there. With Ernst there, I think this time he's got, with the games coming in thick and fast, you know, before you even think about the next game, you have to already, you know, think about the past game. You already have a game on Tuesday and on Wednesday, and yet you are playing on Saturday or Sunday. So they are coming thick and fast. There's no time to coach. It's just that you need experienced players to come through and shine for you. At Maritzburg, I think their players, I was looking at Kutumela as well, Musiamedi, they're solid up front. They've got good players with great minds in terms of strong mentality, but they're not using them correctly. I'm not sure, but they decide to play well against Pirates, against Kaizer Chiefs, against Sundowns, against SuperSport. The team will not survive on 21 points or on 12 points or 15 points that you collect from these teams.
Because, you know, sometimes you play against Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns. Sometimes you win, sometimes you get a draw, but those ones don't, as you say, you know, they don't keep you in the league. The ones that keep you, your immediate competition, which, I mean, the Golden Arrows, the Barokas, you know, the TS Galaxy, you need to beat them at home. You need to win. You need to win wherever you play them, away or home. That's where you're going to keep your point. Now they're sitting on 9 points, you know, and the league is very dicey now. Anything can happen. If you don't win the next 3 games, you can find yourself down the bottom.
So though, I mean, we must pay a huge amount of respect to what Mandla Ngigazi has been able to do with his Golden Arrows side. I mean, they're, you know, some would argue they're boxing above their weight. They're a well-oiled machine that never says die. That the attitude just to get back into the game. We saw it against Cape Town City. We saw it against the Maritzburg United to even eke out a victory. That mentality there, he's got something special going, surely.
Yeah, I think he's got a good mix of players. They've gelled quite well. I think the work that has been done prior to that, he needs to be credited for that. For him taking on to this role, I think he was always the guy that was a good fit for this team. As much as now they're getting the results, so it shouldn't be a surprise to many of us for the result that he's getting now. Those players, they work for one another. They have a never die attitude, and the way that they're applying to the system, to what Ngigazi wants and the system, you could see that when Arrows play from their traditional football, starting from the back, build up their attack. So what they specialize mostly on is when they start their build-up, they start them slow, get in the middle, but they're always a team that will work against you on a counter-attack, which is very good. They've always done that to most teams.
And they're doing it to devastating effect this season, of course, Golden Arrows. As we now focus on another KZN team, Benny McCarthy's AmaZulu getting the victory at the weekend against Stellenbosch. In the end, I guess, you know, for Benny McCarthy, it is about moving forward, the momentum. Timbani, looking at a team like AmaZulu who are so ambitious, having brought him in, it's not really been the kind of start you would have liked. But do you think they maybe turned a corner with this one?
I mean, for the fact that he's still collecting points, even though he's not stable and settled yet.
Yeah.
Because, truth be told, you can't just come in a team and within 4 weeks, you know who is who. You still have to take some time, pre-season and all of that, then your players can show you who they are.
Right.
So in this case, I think the most fortunate part of it is that he's got the mechanism that gets him the points, which is very important. For now, if I was him, I would say, let a draw be my loss, because right now I just need to sustain and save the status, because you need to make sure that you secure the next season, then you can start on a clean slate.
They have ambition, you know.
I know the number for the position 4 thing. I spoke to the, you know, I spoke to the president and said, is it realistic? I spoke to Monip as well, and then we talk about such things, you know, to say, is it realistic? Yes, everybody wants to know that the status is safe, and I'm in the top 8 already. I've got 800,000 rand for next season for the appearance fees on the MTN 8, and then if I win the 8 million in 3 games, then I'm sorted. You know, it's not about money for other teams, your Zulus, your Sundowns, and you know, it's not about money. They want the glory. But with Benny, I think he's got a thing going on. I think his technical team looks good. He went on and got a non-vet who is from the area, who is a darling to the KZN people, and then he got him there. So his bench is balanced. I think, well, I don't know how far they go in terms of the medical team, the analysts and all of that, but AmaZulu, they've got something to give us next season. For this season, I think it's all about making sure that they stay afloat.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're looking at that man in the picture there, Monginko Sintuli, being quite important for the side, along with Majoro. You need these players, but as I kind of speak about guys who have the experience, one who does but hasn't been on the pitch in SHABBA, what do you think that's down to? You know, because you're seeing a hands-on-deck moment here where players are coming to the fore, showing their quality, and you want to string together a run. It doesn't seem like SHABBA's part of those plans. Or do you think he might be the ace in the pack a little further down the line?
Yeah, I think it's for me, SHABBA is needed in this team for his experience. I think everyone knows that SHABBA has been there, has done it, has played at the highest level. And I think for me, it's not about fitness, but it could be something that it's internal that is affecting him not to start.
Like what?
I mean, there could be a lot of dynamics. I would not want to touch on them. But as a player, I would know. When there's a coach that has been a player, there's always going to be that clash. So for me, I would just like to leave it in that sense.
Yeah, but I don't feel Benny. We have a personality clash with SHABBA. I don't think.
I would
that.
understand.
Yeah, the thing is, they said he was unfit. He needs to fight for his position.
Yeah.
Fight for his position. You look at SHABBA. And then you're telling me that he needs to fight for his position. I think
like Gareth Bale needs to fight for his position.
Yeah, but he went to pre-season with everybody else.
Right.
So from there, I think with SHABBA's mentality, I've played with him, and I know SHABBA. He's a hard worker, and I'm sure he deserves a start. Let him also be given an opportunity to start. Even if you can start him 30 minutes, let us see.
Show me what you can do.
Yes.
But with Benny, with them, they are training every time. There's something, you know, sometimes there's a lot of quality players there. There's Molenga, there's Mamela, what's they call him from Pirate? That came from Pirate, the left footer. You know, he's very good, you know, and there's a lot of good players there. There's Major there, and they play 4-4-2, and which, you know, sometimes it's difficult for you to accommodate somebody who can be your luxury. Because I'm not saying SHABBA can play, he can't give you 90 minutes, but he can contribute a lot in this team. But, you know, sitting here, we don't know actually what's happening, but it might be fitness. You know, when he didn't have a club for a long time. You know, there's training, and there's friendly games, and there's fitness for real games. He might not play.
But I guess he's saying that, how is he going to get that without being given the chance?
Yeah, the right time, Benny will give him a chance. I feel so. The right time, Benny will
Which
give
is
him a
the
chance.
right time? Because I'm looking at the
Because they're under
character of
pressure
Shabba.
now.
Yeah.
You know, the president wants them to be higher
I'm
on the
happy
table.
that you're saying they're under pressure.
Yeah.
A player like Shabba is the player you need in any change room.
Yeah.
Whether he's playing or not, but having him within your 18
Yes.
there. All these young stars, remember they used to see this man on TV. They used to see this man
Scoring the opening
scoring
goal.
the opening goal. This
Yeah.
man's name is at JF Kennedy Airport. You walk in there, you find him with that goal. I mean, that's what more do you need from the team? I mean, look again. If you can look at how Amazulu have lost points there. I can just give you the recent derby. Who came in and stabilized things for Kaizer Chiefs is Katsande. He's a senior within the team.
Yeah.
You need those people. His assist for them to get that goal.
Yeah.
It was Katsande who came in and stabilized things in the middle. Shabba might not be robust, but him on the field, you've got an extra coach. I think we need to look at it that way. That should his chance come, hopefully it comes soon.
Yeah.
Then Amazon will be able to stabilize, even if we can give him the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, to say, okay, go in, stabilize the game for us, kill time for us. You know how he can do it. He can always punish. He knows how to defend. He knows how to keep the ball in case you need to hold the run and all of that. He knows how to spot the dead man running. He's more technical than any other player within the Amazon camp. Trust me. I know it might sound a bit overboard,
it sounds a bit there, you know, because you never know how the training is going there, because he can be we understand Shabba is a great player.
Yes.
We understand Shabba can
But whether
contribute.
he's the Shabba we know him to be.
You know,
is
his
the
chance
different
will
story.
come.
With
His
age,
chance
you
will come.
cannot compare that. But I think
Yeah.
with maturity, he takes it.
Yeah.
I think his maturity is needed to actually to safeguard the team, because his presence, being around.
Yeah.
Even it's like playing Kaizer Chiefs when you know there's a certain starting lineup that is there. You start being fearful. We've been to that.
Yeah.
When you look at the lineup, we're like, oh, I'm playing against this player. So now when you have Shabba on that team, it gives those players that extra motivation.
Okay.
Look at Jele Pirates.
Right.
He came in there, slotted into the defense. He's pairing now nicely with Sajwayo. And then what do you get? Results.
For sure.
You know, because you've got experience there. He's the senior of the team. He's a legend. And among all the Pirates players, not even a single one has got the Jele experience. And you can't take that away.
That's true. Fair enough. Okay, gents, what we're going to do is take a short little break, after which we continue and focus on the Tshwane teams as we'll look back on what's happened with SuperSport United and Mamelodi Sundowns at the weekend with their results. Some big games were on the go, and we'll reflect on those on Monday Night Football after this. Welcome back. It's Monday Night Football on SOWETO TV as we now reflect on the big game that saw the teams who are trying to keep the pace with Mamelodi Sundowns at the top of the table in SuperSport United and Swallows FC in action. They played out in the end to a 1-1 draw, and it was a good come from behind victory, well, not victory, but equalizer from Swallows, who've kind of got that as part of their DNA now, that never say die attitude, Kelvin. But it seems to be, you know, of late, and maybe it's because it's top opposition, they're celebrating draws, but good draws.
Yeah. I think Swallows' setup is quite brilliant. They're scoring more goals. They're also conceding less goals. So credit should be given to them. The style of play that Brendan Truter has employed, it's working for the youngsters as it gives you a balance of the seniors and the youngsters. Now, when you look at the youngsters, you're looking at the energy part of it. When you're looking at the seniors, you're looking in terms of maturity, how to manage games and how to actually to help the youngsters to move forward.
Greg, I mean, looking at this game here, as a goalkeeper, Virgil's performance, he made some cracking saves at some times, and that's the problem with him, is he blows hot and cold like that.
No, I mean, goalkeepers have your moment. Like, you know, Swallows becoming a big team in terms of how they play. They haven't lost in 14 games. I mean, credit to them, you know. So sometimes they attack you more, you know, and there's a big save he make on the 34th minute there. Gabuza, if I'm not mistaken. That's a big save.
Chance,
yeah.
He goes in, it becomes 2-0, and it's very difficult, you know, with SuperSport, you know. But credit must be given to all the goalkeepers, you know, at Fori, you know, Freeze. They did very well, you know, in terms of their game. Getting a draw, you know, they haven't in the past 5 games now. They only won 1, draw 4, and I mean, if they win, I mean, 3 out of those games, they could have been somewhere else now, leading the table far away. But at the end of the day, you know, you can give them credit. The opponents they play against, you know, they play most of the teams away now. Going to Dobsonville is going to be a different game because they feel more confident at home.
Looking at this moment, Chair, I mean, in the end, the ball ends up in the back of the net, but the referee says Grobler's foot was maybe too high. I mean, firstly, it doesn't connect with the player, and he's well within his rights to go for the ball. Surely, once again, for the panel to look at as far as officiating is concerned.
I think Swallows is one of those teams that have been so fortunate this season. You can count the incidents against Sundowns, against Pirates, and this as well. You know, they always have it their way. It's been swinging their way in their games, and you need a bit of luck, element of luck in football. You know, because if you can look at how they play good football. It's even convincing that anyway they were not flat.
Yeah.
They were going out there fighting for what they think belongs to them. The officiating, it leaves a lot to be desired. I wish we could get a word about it from the you know, the SAFA side to say what is it that is happening. I always ask this: do we have enough people with strong minds to make decisions as referees? Because if you can look at that insert as well, that ball, Grobler's foot was not even near the face.
For sure.
Or you know, of the
You
Swallows
say
player.
SAFA, what about the PSL? What's their role in this? I guess I know it's the mother body who oversee, but this is the product that's now being affected.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know if I'll be speaking out of 10 by saying this. I hope that we do not get to suffer as football lovers because of what is happening at the top between the two organizations. I just hope it's not the case, it's not the outcome. I just hope and think that it's human errors that we're seeing there. But again, let's give it up to the PSL and SAFA for coming up and saying they'll deal with the match officials. You know, they must start now feeling the pinch, because match officials, they can officiate any way they want. They get into the car, go either to the hotel or go home, and then the coach gets to lose the job, the player gets to be blamed, all of that. The fans will go home heartbroken because of all these incidents. But match officials, nobody questions them. So we're seeing the referees committee coming up. SAFA last week, they gave us their reports and all of that. So it's quite looking good. I think they need to be applauded on that.
Okay, well, I mean, referees, look away now, because we're going to go to another game that will probably highlight the lack of good decisions. Let's focus now on the Cape Town City encounter against BAROKA. And obviously, in terms of what's been happening with the referees, they've just not been doing themselves any favors. What we're going to see here, I guess, in this game is more of that kind of lack of protection, Calvin, for players. Sometimes, you know, people say let the game play on, but sometimes there's just egregious tackles that need to be nipped in the bud, especially to kind of set the tone for a match. And sometimes what you see at the end is the work of a referee who wasn't working. He's let things go so out of control that it kind of bubbles to the top.
I think for referees, it's very important for them to control the match and also control their emotions. I mean, sometimes some tackles are are too harsh. Even at home when you're watching, you cringe. Because you see a player also going on a tackle that is so dangerous and coming from behind where there's no threat. I think some of the decision actually, I think also on players, they need to also be considerate that these are fellow professionals. You cannot have a mentality to go on the field and break someone's leg or end someone's career. Yes, the referee can do much. Sometimes you'll face some decision that they should be let go, but some decisions are punishable. But some of the decisions that are left not punished are the ones that are costing. It could cost you a job. Some players can be injured, and it could be the end of their careers.
I'm looking at that match as well, that incident you're talking about. I mean, look at Ralani, the way he was kicked. It was uncalled for. It was a straight red.
Sure.
I mean, from the first instance, whether you're watching it on TV or whatever, but the referee was not strong enough to actually give him matching orders. That's why you found now, a few minutes later, everybody, including Coach Jan, was also in the field now. The medical team, the bench of Cape Town City, everything was just about to spiral out of control.
Because you look at it, how the referee actually comes about on giving a decision. You look at the intent, and you look at the intent of the tackle. Was the player wanting to get the ball or want to get the player?
Right.
So that should be an easy call to make for a referee than now to try and play it down. Because if that happens, we saw in an incident with Parker where there was a foul that didn't go against him, and the next minute he went to try and hack the player. He got a red card on that game.
But in this incident, I think the fourth official need to be blamed
was
because it was right in front of him,
Right.
and that was a bad tackle. There was, there was blood.
There was blood, yeah.
There was blood, and that was a red card. And I don't know whether I went to the dressing room to apologize. You need to do that because I mean, Rolani was crying. Actually,
was in
he
tears
wasn't
throughout the
in the game again, but. I think it's a little derby too because Kobola was at Cape Town City before, and I mean something triggered there. You saw the two benches going to each other, So, but I just feel like fourth official or the linesman need to help the ref sometimes.
Let's talk about strict referees because someone will say that if Victor Gomes was doing this game, you would have probably not seen this incident and. There's surely a psychological thing as a player that if you see, oh, Victor's on the game today, I need to watch how I play because he doesn't take any mess.
Okay, Victor, sometimes he overdo things.
But rather that, though, if it means the safety of players.
Yeah. With this incident, Victor,
that
it could have been a red
disrupts
card with Victor. Straight away, he's not giving that player a red card, And Victor, he likes to stamp his authority when the game starts. When you allow some tackles go and you don't issue a yellow card or, query the player, now all of a sudden, players can get away with those situations. Now it becomes an ugly game. But if it was Victor Gomez in that game, I'll assure you that it's going to be a red card. But we need to have a review in this kind of game so that the refs can see.
But that's scary that now we attach the strictness to one individual instead of saying that the referees in general get these.
That's why it's
I think it boils down to character as well. Victor Gomes has a strong character. He always, as Craig has mentioned, that he always wants to stamp his authority. But I feel that sometimes he gives unnecessary yellow cards and red cards, and that disturbs the game. It disturbs the game in that sense.
But if you can look at even Blom on Saturday, he should not have even been substituted by Kaiser Chiefs. Should have been
Red
red
card.
carded long time ago, even
ago.
before the Pule incident.
Right.
Because all he was doing was going out there kicking. I don't know whether it was the instruction from the bench, but he didn't look like the Blom that I admire whenever I watch playing. Maybe it was the derby nerves, but he should be very, very he's saying to himself, I'm lucky to have actually been substituted because the game should have ended with 11 against 10.
Oh, refs, we don't like to have this conversation, but we're basically dealing with what we see at the weekends, and it's scary to think that there's things that are happening in the league that we don't get to see because there are no cameras at those games. So food for thought for the administrators that we take a short little break, after which we continue wrapping up match day 14 as it was in the DSTV Premiership. Welcome back. It is Monday Night Football as we now reflect on a victory that saw Mamelodi Sundowns start to put a little daylight between themselves and the rest of the chasing pack as far as the DSTV Premiership is concerned. And they did it in fine fashion. One could argue that it could have been even more than what the scoreline suggests. They had so many opportunities, did Mamelodi Sundowns, to stamp their authority. They have in a sense because they've shown us what they're capable of doing. The scoreline doesn't reflect it as much, Greg, but in the end, the coaches will be happy. There were goals. There was a clean sheet. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, it was an exciting game to watch. Most especially for Peter. Peter did very well, in terms of setting up the 2 goals. But credit must be given to Chipa goalkeeper. For him to win man of the match, I think he did very well. It could have been other score. It could have been 8-9. But Sundowns on the day, they were just too powerful. Clinical in terms of the 2 goals they took. But the other situation, the one for Zwane, I thought he's going to score that goal. But the keeper you need to give credit to the keeper.
How does the keeper get a man of the match, Greg, if you've still lost? Please take me through that because the ratio of your saves, out of 10, if you can come out with 7, 7, they can give you man of the match, because if Peter scored in that game, he might be man of the match because he contributed for the 2 goals, but he never scored. But the goalkeeper, you see, the shot on targets are probably about 19, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
It was an onslaught.
Yeah,
it was an onslaught, but I mean, he led 2 in. You don't walk away with any points.
Yeah.
I mean, are you giving him the man of the match because he helped your goal
Individual
difference?
performance? I think so. I think
Is it a goal difference thing? Is it because
yeah.
it could have been worse? That could be that extra point at the end of the
Sundowns
season.
could have actually got more goal
goals.
difference on that.
Yeah.
So those save, it actually prevented them from that.
But Coach Bonova has got another theory to that. He says this game, even if they could have played for 2 days, they would have still scored 2 goals.
Maybe
because
that's what
MADISHA was
wanted.
probably what he wanted.
For sure.
Because he was number 2, and then they only got 2 goals, and they were playing in his honor.
Yeah.
So I think it was quite a nice one. But mostly, I loved Coach Malisela when he said, I'm lucky. We are lucky to have lost by 2 goals.
Yeah, he did
What
say.
a statement! I mean, you only have to understand football to admire him playing with words. But look at Chippa, guys. They have been at home for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
They've been away
On the
from home
run,
rather
yeah.
for the rest of this. I've never seen this happening.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this for the first time, that a team plays all their away matches.
Yeah, for them coming from Black Leopard, winning training and play against Sundowns. But if you check the Sundowns front line, I mean, there's goals everywhere.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, you have Peters, you have Erasmus, you have Zwani, and I mean, you have goals everywhere, even from the midfield. And don't forget, from the centre backs to the goal that is allowed for Labusa. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good touch for Lafort, you know, coming back to play against his former team. You know, I was so happy for him. I mean, meeting his old teammates, which was good. You know.
I think also what's influenced the game was actually the return of Nascimento at the back line gave Sundowns some stability. Sundowns controlled the entire of the game, as their game plan was actually to go to the middle and then maintain maximum width, which was to deal with their 1v1s, which was confrontational. So they won all of that, and that's why they got those goals. Even though I felt that there was a third, there was a fourth, and a sixth, and a seventh that was coming. Just the way that they played, they also allowed Chippa to start from the back while knowing that they are setting their traps to use your Zwane for speed, your Shaolile to counter press. Every time when they have the ball, they will counter press and win it.
That goal, Musa Lubusa, I mean, as far as anyone watching it on TV, two things. You would have thought it was a goal, and you would have, because the flag didn't go up, and you would have thought that it was offside because you would have, you know, paused and checked.
Yeah.
So it wasn't given in the end, but we don't have VAR, and the referee didn't make that call. So who made this call?
It's the
It
referee.
was the referee.
It takes us
Based
back.
on?
It takes us back to the match official.
Right.
The linesman, you know, the assistant referee says to the referee, "Angbonanga next," you know, and then the referee comes and says, "Okay." On consultation, he says, "Okay, I'm gonna use my discretion as the referee."
But then who called it? Because the linesman didn't even call it.
He was
His strike
running.
didn't
No,
call
he
it.
was
running back.
Yes.
He was running back when the goal was
Yes.
scored.
No,
think-
he called. It was a goal.
It was
the
a goal,
linesman.
yes.
It was a goal.
Yes.
Then the referee went to the linesman and asked, "What did you see?" He said,
Oh.
"I didn't see anything."
Angbonanga next.
He said, "I didn't see anything." Then he said, "Okay, since you didn't see anything,
Yes.
Then Angboni
let
offside.
me use
My own.
my power."
So the
because
ref
the
saw
ref
the
can
offside.
overrule. Yes. No. They both didn't see it because the linesman ran to the
Yeah,
halfway
so
line,
they both didn't see
indicating
it.
there was a goal.
And then where is the rule that says you give the benefit to the attacker?
Attacking player. Check the
Yeah,
linesman.
but guys, I mean, he runs, he doesn't acknowledge it. The referee didn't see it, so who called it? That's
that-
what I'm trying to get down to the bottom of.
Well, at the end of it all, the referee used his
Yes.
discretion and said he's gonna put his head on the block and say it's not a goal.
Yeah.
That's a strange one. I think, yeah, maybe someone will bring clarity as to who made that call in the end. But one of those decisions where it looked like a goal, wasn't a goal, it wasn't called a goal. We don't know who made the call. We'll leave it at the feet of the referee and say, well done, as far as that one is concerned. But obviously, looking at that result, it does grow the daylight there at the top of the table for Mamelodi Sundowns. I mean, you know, we also saw players at the weekend maybe playing in different positions. Now there's word that Daruk is going to come in and be a number 6. So we're seeing these coaches kind of fashion a different, almost unpredictable side out of the Sundowns team.
With Sundowns, you know, when you're playing for Sundowns, you know that you can play, I mean, 2-3 position because, I mean, with Maboya, he did that. He's playing
Yeah.
right back
Right
and he
back,
scored
yeah.
from the side.
Sure.
So anything can happen. When you sign for Sundowns, be ready that you need to contribute because
And be
any
a
position
utility player.
any position they put you, you need to play because it's difficult to even get to the starting 11 because, you know, apart from injuries and the COVID situation, you know, if everybody's available, for you to get into that 18 or 20 is very difficult. So when you have opportunity to play any position, you need to stamp your authority and do very well.
Let's maybe broach what might be a controversial subject. Timbane, financial fair play. Do we need it in Mzansi? You're looking at a team like Sundowns who, you know, for all intents and purposes, can pretty much buy any player they want.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're winning, you are attractive to most players. So what's going to happen is you're going to have this vacuum of talent
Going one
condensed with one team. What does
I-
that mean for the rest of the league?
I think it depends who's got more money. Who's got more, you know what, bait for the players.
Yeah.
I mean, for Daruk did say that he wants to play for Kaizer Chiefs.
Yes.
You know, while he was still at Maritzburg, to say, I love Kaizer Chiefs, you know. But then if you can look at him popping up at Sundowns now, it was quite a surprise. And you can look at the number of players competing with him in that position.
Yeah.
What can make him go there? Some players would say, even if I don't get to play all the 30 matches, but I'll get paid all the game for my season and for my stay of the 5 years that I've signed. And again, signing this long contract.
Yeah, but let's be fair. I think this Sundowns phase is one where, as a youngster, you're thinking, okay, there's a regeneration that's happening. So you can maybe understand from Daruk's perspective that I'm joining a project where they're gonna change things up a bit. The Nacimentos, as much as they're coming back into the team, they're getting older, you know, so this is the future generation. So I don't mind a player saying, I'm going because there's a long-term project. But essentially what we're finding now is what's going to happen? Teams are going to price out everybody else but the team that can afford players. Then you're going to end up not being able to afford anyone other than Sundowns being the only team with the pockets deep enough.
The rest will only get the crumbs, unfortunately.
Yes.
But because you can look, they signed the likes of Josh Maluleka. He had to stay on the stands to observe how things are done here. They've signed the likes of Lesedi Kaping. I'm talking about players who were first choice players in the teams where they come from. And then they still come back here, come to Sundowns and sit and observe with folded arms in the stands to see how things are done. And then later, they only played, who's this boy from Vets yesterday?
Domingo.
Gift Mutupa. When last did you see Gift Mutupa? You even forgot about it.
Apparently he was injured, according to them.
Domingo himself, he can be a starter in any team, but you even forget that he's at Sundowns, you know, if you don't get to follow them. But I think it's a bit monopolistic, if I may use that word, that they just take over everything. But as long as they maintain the players that they've signed, and players go there knowing very well that it's a jungle, I have to fight for what I think belongs to me, then it's good for them. Let them go out there and fight it out. I mean,
it brings the whole thing into perspective, Soso and Greg, as former players, pay package versus playing time.
Yeah, true. On the financial side, it's very attractive.
Yes.
If I know that I'm guaranteed a salary at the end of the month while other people are struggling, why not? I would actually also go for that, because at the end of the day, our careers are short. They are short-lived.
So even if you were given the guarantee to start every game, but we're getting a fifth of what Sundowns were offering, where are you going?
No, you're going to Sundowns.
You're going to Sundowns.
You're playing for money. You're playing for money. At the end of the day,
and if you don't play, Greg,
you don't care, you don't play. The money, you save the money, you invest. That's the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, when you stop, people will ask you, what did you do with your money? You are playing all the whole 100 games and you can't do anything. But never forget, Sundowns too, they are playing a lot of tournaments. So, you know.
I was about to ask, that is enough football on the plate,
so that's where you can fit
in.
But if you ask me to play 100 games and sign without game, I would check that one, take the money.
Yeah. Because it's different, Kamza.
Simple logic.
I'll take the money.
But now you're becoming an investment person, sitting on the bench, investing your money and not playing what you're.
That time when you're sitting on the bench, you have more calmness. You know, some investment. You have time to do everything.
You're buying Bitcoin on your phone.
Okay, let me just throw the spanner in the works as well. I mean, you know that unless Onyango gets injured,
only then you're going to get it.
Only then you're going to get a chance to play or to sit on the bench or to make it into the 18.
With that scenario, I think with last season or this season, sir, they sometimes rotated. You know, with what's his name? Kennedy. And with Grozi there now, the one from Vets, that's the top class goalkeeper.
They've got Riyadh.
So
they've got Peterson. They've got
there's some
February.
Yeah, there's some time, you know, like Onyango got 10 clean sheets in the league. You know, he has been doing very well. For me, I mean, he's contesting for Player of the Month. If K is not taking, apart from the strikers, going to score a lot of goals with Bradley. But for him, he's contesting there. But Onyango cannot play every game. There's sometimes they will say, okay, you need to rest and give other player a chance. But goalkeeping side is a delicate situation. You don't touch every time. But you know that there's competition. For them to be around, that's where you push yourself. Because as a goalkeeper, I know that if you don't have quality goalkeepers on the bench or competitive, you relax and your game drop. But Onyango know that if you make a mistake, there's someone there that come in and do the same thing. Because sometimes you can play anyone, they were going to deliver.
Okay, so at end of the day, financial fair play, do we need it, don't we need it? So, yes or no?
I think we do.
You okay?
Yeah, we do.
For me, Yeah, with other teams, you know, yeah, we do need it.
We do need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do, but hopefully, I mean, all the teams will get sponsors so that,
Yeah.
you know,
You
because
learn.
remember that the sponsorship plays a big role. I mean, there's a team like Marispec, they have to sell what they have to try and salvage their stay within the league. And do they win cups? No, unfortunately. But I think we do need it.
Okay, well, there we have it. As far as financial fair play, one of those big ideas we wonder will ever get implemented, such as club licensing to its fullest extent. There's pieces of it that's being applied at the moment, but nearly not enough. Let's then focus on the teams that are making moves. Literally, TTM, I guess now it's been ratified. They come through. The club has been sold twice in the same season, which is something that I thought couldn't be done or wasn't allowed. But hey, if someone comes with money, I guess you can do anything in the PSL.
Yeah, there are loopholes, I think, that, you know, business people have identified within the PSL and all of that. But remember, as it happens on the field, that football teaches you a lesson first, and then you can go and practice or rather, you know, deal with it sitting on the sideline. So this is what is happening. Somebody has to come and bring something, then they have to go back and put it in the rules, you know, all of that. I mean, we've come so far with our country. We've danced without reading the rules, even from the national team level, you know, all of that. So there's nothing new. So in this case, I think the PSL have had to save their face, because you can't have a guy who buys a Mercedes with an Uno budget, you know?
Yeah.
You know
without
that
the money to service
exactly.
the car.
He can't service it and all that. So I think it's very noble of Mr. Mulaudzi to go and say, you know what, I can't do this, but I heard he's blaming Sello Chokwe for the money that went missing and all of that. But let's not point fingers. The bottom line is TTM was not properly run. I mean, there's a lot of embarrassing situations that have happened, and if you can look at it now, hopefully the new owners will actually take it up and where it belongs, if it gets to survive.
I mean, they have to arrest the slide, because it is to that point not going well at the moment. Bloom Celtic, with 10 men for most of that game, still managed to walk away with a 1-0 victory over TTM.
It just shows the amount of disruption that is in the team. Players lacking in confidence, players not being paid their salaries. I mean, you cannot go and play a match knowing very well that you don't know whether you're going to get paid or you're not going to get paid.
Would it not put your mind at ease, though, that there's new owners now, guys, let's go, let's push?
But it's
Or are you
late.
still...
It's been happening rapidly. So now it's not going to be all of a sudden, yes, there's a new owner now, we're going to get paid all of a sudden, because still also the owners has to get used to us. We need to express ourselves, how we feel, what's happening, and what needs to be done. Because players are very fragile. That's one thing I need to tell you.
So is there a long road back? Is that what you're saying?
Very
to get
long,
these players,
very long
back
road.
to the mental...
Because they will feel that the same thing could be done by the same owners as well. If it managed to happen, because they trusted the guy that Mulaudzi is the team.
They trusted the league, didn't they? They trusted the PSL to be saying that, okay, we've got
This
you
guy
new
can
owners,
take it, then-
these guys are going to sort you out.
Then all of a sudden, all these smaller details start creeping up, not being paid, you don't have a training kit, and all of these things, you have to travel by bus to go to,
Taxi,
a
apparently.
taxi to go to Bloemfontein. That's
Allegedly.
not professional now.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at a professional setup, it's something that we need to look at. You need to look into, because if we're going to go as players to play a match and we are squeezed in a bus, how do you expect us to perform?
It's true.
Even if they can get a red card, these players already fatigue. In science, they say if you you have to travel a day before the match so you can rest and acclimatize to the situation, to the weather.
Again, Gamza, it puts the PSL on the spotlight. The background checks. Do they do that? You know, good standing of a person who says, I want to buy a team. You know, I think
They
those
should
are,
see that there's an amount in there that can
Yes,
sustain you for
that
the
can
season
sustain
at
this
least.
team, you know.
Yeah.
A letter of good standing, you know, is not enough. Let's look at your lifestyle. Let's do that little background
audit,
check,
yeah,
audits and all of
exactly.
that, so that we don't find ourselves in this. It's embarrassing. The situation at TTM, it's so embarrassing for South African football. Let me be honest. It's one of those that you cringe when you look at and saying, this really happened. And for the players, I mean, you can take it and say, look at Amazulu, for instance. The Sokelas go out, the Zungus come in,
And there's
all
an upward
it's an upward
trajectory. Yeah,
movement,
exactly.
you know. And then the
Exactly.
players say, yes, we've got it.
Yeah.
Now, Moni Joseph says, I can go back now because there's new ownership.
Right.
I'm buying into the vision.
Yes.
Benny McCarthy says, I can leave whatever that I'm doing, wherever I am, and come and join in because I'm buying into the vision. You know, so it depends on that. But usually the teams that buy statuses, they don't get to survive easily.
Well, there we go. Very quickly, I'm going to ask you, you have the last word on this one, only because you know ODG. Is the project coming together? 7 points out of 9, 3 goals of the weekend. Sounds like a hammering. Sounds good.
Definitely. It's coming together. And don't be surprised if finishing top 8.
Okay, there we have it. Gents, we've run out of time, unfortunately, but you know how it is. We keep the conversation going on the Twitter sphere and on our YouTube channel as we see the games coming thick and fast. There are 2 midweek games coming your way. On top of that, with Nedbank Cup action set to start at the end of the week. We're done for time. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Greg. Team Bunny, I appreciate you too. And to you two at home and everyone who made this possible, we'll catch up in a week's time for more Monday Night Football on SOWETO TV. SHABBA.